Share screen and start now. What did they say? Did they say something? Just cross this. Okay. Starting.
Hi Induji, hi Amita, hi Dr.
Hi. Hi, Mrinalini. Shehnaz is also here.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello everybody.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello everyone.
Uh,
Hi.
Anjali, the participants will be muted, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I'm just going to share the screen and set the background.
Checking on the.
See the screen, Anjali?
Yes, yes.
You're able to see the slides?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
If you want something, just move the mouse in the.
Hello.
Oh.
Hello.
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 So what's the order? Indu goes first, or Dr. Kishore, or Shehnaz?
Shehnaz goes first, I think.
But we're just we're starting with you, Induji, because just in case Shahnaz needs 5-10 minutes to just get into the groove.
वीडियो उन्होंने वीडियो ऑन नहीं हुआ जब आपका टर्न आएगा वो ऑन कर देंगे या आप
So we'll start with Induji, then we will move on to Dr. Kishore, then Shehnaz, and then to Amita ji. But the first question is to everybody. How has the pandemic affected homeless people?
पहला क्वेश्चन है how has the pandemic affected homeless people? How has COVID affected homeless?
Yeah, we'll start in 5 minutes.
How many participants are there right now?
Anjali?
Right now we have 5 people, but I think more are joining as we around 3 will be have more participants.
Okay.
Yeah.
If any one of you need help, yeah, you have any difficulty, yes. Having your screen, should I move from here?
Then let's go. We can talk to guys.
Hi, Indo.
Hi, Amita. How are you?
I'm okay. How are things?
Good, Amita. Good. How about you? Oh, first of all, happy Spouse Day. Matthew's birthday, I suppose.
Happy? Okay. Yeah. Yes.
Rinka told me that. Okay, I said, chalo, theek hai. Matthew से बात करेंगे. But before that, I met you only, so I said, chalo. Amita के साथ.
Shall we start, or do you want to give it another 2 minutes? Anjali?
I think we can start. We have a lot of participants who joined us now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're starting?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, great. Okay. So, good evening, good afternoon, everybody, and for people who are joining us from different parts of the world, good morning. We're very, very happy on behalf of the Movement for Global Mental Health to have you all for this very, very important discussion on the impact of COVID on the needs of the homeless people, especially with focus on their mental health. So we have a very distinguished panel of speakers today, starting with Dr. K.V. Kishore Kumar. Dr. K.V. Kishore Kumar is the director of the Banyan and the Banyan Academy of Leadership in Mental Health. He's been with us for the last 10 years. Earlier, he was a senior psychiatrist at the National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences in Bangalore for 25 years, where he was leading the community mental health services in the Department of Psychiatry. He has also served as an advisor to the Indian government in developing a policy for prevention of corporal punishment and providing relief centers for the homeless. He has advised the World Health Organization on mental health services in Somalia. He's actively involved in clinical practice and community care and works with homeless persons with mental illness in government institutions. His area of interest include community mental health services, training primary care doctors and general practitioners, care of the homeless with mental health issues, life skills for adolescents, and psychosocial issues of persons exposed to disasters. Dr. Kishore, we're very, very happy to have you on board. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Mrinalini, and
Yeah.
thanks everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Kishore. Our next speaker is Dr. Indu Prakash Singh from Delhi. Dr. Indu Prakash has been involved with responding to the needs of homeless people for almost 30 years now, and he has been he's one of the co-founders of Ashray Adhikar Abhiyan, and he's a human rights defender, poet, author, a feminist, and a very, very important activist in the circles of in Delhi and across the country in meeting the needs of homeless people. And there's a lot to say about Induji with regard to how much he has contributed to homeless people receiving identity cards and voters ID. And beyond this, he's done a lot of work in making sure that the shelters in Delhi, he's part of the monitoring committee, and to get quality rights for people in living in homeless shelters. He's done a lot of work. So thanks a lot, Induji, for joining us.
Thank you, Mrinalini. Thank you.
Yeah. The third we have, yeah, no problem. Thank you. Dr. Amita Joseph is our third speaker. She has an educational background in management and law from Delhi University and PGDM from the Law Institute. She's worked for 30 years in the corporate, legal and development sectors. Amita ji has been a program manager for South Asia, social development advisor with DFID, country director with Global Alliance, program director with Women's Action for Development. She has also written for magazines and journals, including IIC Quarterly Seminar, Civil Society Magazine, Outlook, Business Standard, etc. 2 of her case studies have been published with the Ivy Business School, and the third case studies is a series as part of working papers of IIM Bangalore. Dr. Amita also serves on the board of a number of non-profit organizations and works very closely with Induji and other advocates to respond to the needs of homeless people in Delhi. And along with Induji, she has also managed to establish shelters in Delhi and across the country for homeless people with mental health issues through the National Urban Livelihoods Mission. Thank you, Dr. Amita, for joining us.
Thanks, Mrinalini, for a very kind introduction. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last speaker is Ms. Shahnaz Sharif, and she is the representative of the Jama Masjid shelter in Delhi. She works with homeless people as part of her primary role. So Shahnaz ji, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
I can intervene, Mrinalini. Shahnaz works with Jamgat. She's a shelter resident.
Yeah.
She's speaking on behalf and for her constituency. So you're hearing a first-person account from a primary stakeholder. But she's studying. She's doing her BA from Delhi University.
Wow. Okay.
She's also working with Jamgat, and of which Indu was also the chair, I believe, till recently. Which works primarily with children, I think, Jamgat, and education. But she's indeed an inspiration to all of us in terms of, the sheer skill and survival and all of strength that she represents. So we're very proud and honored to have her with us.
And definitely, and Amita, it was an amazing suggestion from your end. So we're so happy that you made it happen with Shahnaz.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I also wanted to add that Dr. Amita is also a part of the Business and Community Foundation of India. So I missed that in my introduction. So shall we jump right in? She's the director of the Business and Community Foundation. So shall we jump right in?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to ask my first question to Induji. Induji, can you tell us, in terms of how has the pandemic affected the needs of homeless people?
In a way, if you're talking largely of the country as a whole, I think they were taken in by surprise.
Yeah.
Into surprise. And fortunately for us in Delhi, since we had the shelters and all, and before I think lockdowns and all, the Delhi government, we had impressed on the Delhi Urban Shelter Improvement Board, which run the shelters through the shelter management agencies, to have food provisions in the shelters as such,
Mm-hmm.
So thankfully, the food had come in even before the lockdown as such. So that saved much of the problems for the homeless people. So I would say that at least, in terms of preparedness, I think Delhi was much prepared to handle some of these things. But I have got reports from other parts of the country, UP and the places, where I think it is very bad and still is bad actually.
Right. And how have the NULM shelters performed during this time, apart from Delhi?
Yeah. See, I think, I must tell you that, at least there was, an government order from, the ministry, which had said that, each homeless person should be provided food of about 100 rupees per day. So that mandate of the NULM was adhered to by the government as such. And thankfully, since Supreme Court is also hearing this petition, and I'm also a petitioner, and Amita is an advocate in the matter. So I think the states took this seriously. So at least the government came in, the central government came in, and used the mechanism of GO to ensure that the homeless people are fed properly during the lockdown as such. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but my question, Induji, is that, while it is important for food provision and things like that, when it comes to stay, how are we maintaining social distancing in these shelters? And what are the precautions that are being taken?
Okay. See, in terms of social, I would say physical distancing, so I suppose earlier there could be about 150 people or 170 people in a shelter, so that the space was then eased out, and NULM talks about 50 square feet per person to be used in shelters. So, many shelters then had to be decongested, And the Delhi government also opened up school shelters, for the homeless as well as for the migrants. So about 200 odd school shelters opened up in different places in Delhi, so which allowed the decongestion to happen, so that the safety norms were established, so that in terms of physical distancing was taken care of. And I would say that surely in terms of the homeless shelters, which are 24/7, I think we were able to deal with the problem as such regarding the things. But yes, one thing I would tell you here, apart from physical distancing, I think the issue of livelihoods and work and all was a big casualty, and because these people also work, they're not just, people who use a shelter. So I think the work got crippled and many of them had no income as such. So that did lead to a lot of stress that they felt actually. Yeah.
Right. And how has that been addressed? How has because livelihoods and many of the city makers that you're talking about are also daily wage laborers. So and with industries coming to a standstill, with construction coming to a standstill, how has the government's response been?
See, I would say that the government's response at the moment, both the central and the state, has been zilch, zero. Because I think, with no work being there at all, work being prescribed as such, now people are allowed to go out of shelter for the work and all. I have got distress calls from many of the homeless, where they didn't have, those who had moved out of shelters and taken some room in some slums and all those places, So they were calling, sir, we have no money to even eat. Like, there are these people who sell balloons and all in Hanuman Mandir.
Right.
Okay. And they have been homeless for the last 30 years.
Right. Hello?
I started getting calls from different places. Also from, say, people like Bajrang and all. I think, this, their demands we were able to meet through organizations like Jamkhad, So Jamkhad was able to raise money from Azim Premji, from entrepreneur initiatives, other groups and all. So we were able to leverage support from some of the social groups and all in a big way,
So civil society organizations.
I think, where I think it's been a cropper. And that still continues to be a major problem for many of our city makers, I think the work has totally vanished. It's vanished,
Okay, and I'm just since this is taking me to a logical next question related to law. Dr. Amita, can you tell us a little bit about are there any protective measures that are set by the government, or is there anything in law that we're not following and we're sidestepping the law and not providing relief to people who are vulnerable and yet who contribute so much to the growth of a city?
Courts are guilty of application of death in terms of
Amita, I don't think we can hear you. Can everybody hear her? I'm not able to hear.
Can you hear me now?
No.
Hello? Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I think, as far as the courts go, there's complete abdication of both moral responsibility of the courts in terms of not having taken suo motu notice and enough steps of what happened, a lockdown without prior notice, no attention being paid to right to life or livelihood or a life with dignity. So what unfolded before our eyes was devastating, and I'm sure the courts are as much party to it as the rest of the country. And to think that petitions that were taken up, were filed in public interest, were either dismissed or the government's opinion being taken as a final word on these matters, without courts really discharging their constitutional responsibility, has been a huge setback, I think, to this country, which I think will be recorded for time to come, how little they did. And finally, they've taken some suo motu notice in a matter after much prodding and the fact being brought to the attention of the courts that you are indeed guilty of not discharging your constitutional obligations. So finally, they have kind of taken up some matters suo motu on the migrants, asked in as late as end of May and June to have people sent back home in 15 days time, when most of the people have already either walked back or died in the process or reached homes already.
Yeah.
And only the very few that were left are still remaining or waiting.
Right.
So I think while all the protection was there under law, and all the rights and obligations are continued to be continued to be there in letter, both in spirit and in implementation, the courts completely failed us in this pandemic. And I would say this publicly, and I would want to be quoted on this.
Absolutely, absolutely. So while we're talking about, intervening when not just at the last minute, but right from the beginning, one of the key needs that I would imagine that people who are homeless and with associated psychosocial needs have will be beyond food and beyond a place of stay, some amount of financial assurance, right? Like a direct bank transfer or a unemployment pension or something like that. Has any such thing been? Has any such thing come to light, or has it been enforced, or is it even being talked about?
I think
We
this
don't
we can
know
put
when
to
they're going to get their
Shehnaz.
jobs back.
Mrinalini, we can put this to Shehnaz.
Yeah.
Has any cash coming to your bank accounts or any help that you have got? Shehnaz can come in as a first person account and tell us.
Shehnaz, please tell us. I think this is a very important question.
No, government has not given us the money.
Have you got any other help other than food?
No, nothing.
So they acknowledge the fact that they are getting 2 meals a day today.
Okay.
But as Shehnaz was saying, that there has been no direct cash transfer. It is ironical that pre-election, somehow government is able to find farmers and put in 2-3 installments of 2,000 rupees into the account.
Yeah.
As far as we all know, 500 rupees has been put into some Jan Dhan accounts of
Right.
a very few women, and that's about it all. But how is it that pre-election time we're able to both find the Jan Dhan accounts and the people and do cash transfers to the tune of 2,000 rupees in 2 installments, so even 4,000 to 6,000 rupees, but not at a time of a pandemic. So this is again completely atrocious and completely unacceptable.
But is it being addressed at a systemic level? Has any PIL or any appeal been filed to this end? Because food can only go so long, because there's also children's education to think about, right?
Yeah, so like I told you, at present all they're hearing is a slew of matters which is related to the transportation and safe passage of migrants who had come into the cities. There are a lot of other petitions pending in the courts regarding education, regarding all of these matters, but the courts have chosen either to ignore some or not to take notice of the others, or even dismiss some of them. So
Okay.
here we are. I think we have to finally put pressure as civil society and as the public on state governments to function, and ultimately on the central government to discharge its obligations to the most marginalized in society.
Thank you. Thank you. Induji, I'm coming back to you for this question before I move to Dr. Kishore. You were talking about an organization working with the Azim Premji Philanthropic Initiatives to, organize some relief. Are direct bank transfers being talked about? That is one question. I'm sorry. And the next question is that, yes, we are focusing on, sending people safely back home. But what about homeless people who are from Delhi? Like you said, there have been people who've been staying here for 30 years, 60 years, where Delhi is home. So what about safety measures for them? So these were my 2 questions.
Okay. What was the first question? I missed that out. This is signal problems.
Sorry. The first question was that you were talking about an organization working with the Azim Premji Philanthropic Initiatives towards relief for homeless people. I just wanted to know if direct bank transfers have been addressed or facilitated. That was my first question.
Yeah. See, this was the same organization from which, Shehnaz is there, Jamghat. I'm also the board member of the organization. So what happened was, in terms of the food and all, I think through Paytms or whatever, the money was transferred into, either the shopkeepers' accounts or their accounts, if they had the account or not,
Sure.
Okay. so the food reaches them, and the money for, see, also what's important is that, that many of them have money for also gas and all. Okay. So how would you're given the rations, wheat and rice and everything, what is the gas to cook actually? So they need money for that also, So I think through this kind of support that we have from API and other groups and all, I think we are able to support many of such families also, and so that was one. Two was, I think, so obviously it was through, bank transfers and all that we were able to do that, because of COVID restrictions. I think one could not just go and deliver food like that, rations like that. So I think
absolutely
certain precautions and all. See, for people who have been in Delhi and all for last couple of years, I think, of course, there was no such thing of that they have to leave the shelters and all. And we have ensured that at least, the people who are there in shelters, these are 24/7 shelters, they are respected as they stay, that the dignity is not compromised. So we ensured all that actually. And it's a long-term measure where we would want them to have proper housing. Shelter is, only, I would say, threshold. It's not the end.
Yeah, absolutely.
We need to move in that direction also. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. And so the second question on the local homeless people homeless who are from Delhi, who are Delhi Vasi. So what is the solution for them? Because the only thing they can now are shelters or relief. They don't, food relief. They won't have any direct bank transfers or anything happening, right? Hello?
See, I think as of now, hello?
Yeah, Indrajit. Yeah, we can hear you.
See, what's there is that, for some people who have got no banking, I know of this family I was talking about, they have no bank account even till date. So I was telling them, please go open a bank account so that the transfers can happen. So it's like, ensuring that the people have the bank accounts so the transfers can take place. Also, so I think the issue is also about many of the homeless people don't even have entitlements as of now. Like somebody is elderly, they require the old pension. Somebody is disabled, they require disabled pension. So I would say that this is a time when they are in shelters and all. So we would need as a government to move in and get the entitlements restored to them, or entitlements reached to them as such. Which to a great extent has not happened as of now,
Yeah. Okay. So I'll put a pin on that question for now. So there is still a lot more to be done, is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what Amitaji is saying as well.
Yes.
So my next question is to Dr. Kishore Kumar from the Banyan, who's a psychiatrist and director. So Dr. Kishore, can you tell us, for people with mental health issues are in a much more vulnerable position than most others, and at this point, we need to intervene and offer them some amount of protective care. But the point is that if we are saying institutional care, how do we also protect the need of the clients who are existing, so that they are not exposed to any virus at this point, because they have additional comorbidities and health issues. So how are the homeless mentally ill people impacted as a result of the pandemic?
Thanks, Milani, for asking me this extremely difficult question.
Sorry, Dr. Kishore. Yeah.
Now, to be very honest, the COVID pandemic has caught most of the world by surprise.
Yes.
Because they have never had an experience of similar nature in the past, unlike floods, earthquakes, and other kind of disasters. There was some amount of preparation as to how to deal with the consequences of a disaster. Since it is a communicable disease comparable to a disaster, the whole world was caught by surprise, and therefore there was no preparation made to understand different needs of the different strata of the society. So if you look at the homeless population, I have prepared some slides, and I can go without the slides also, Minalini. Okay.
No, we can run through the slides quickly, Dr. Kishore.
So if you look at India, with its 1.36 billion population, has
Yeah.
about 5% of people who are living under extreme poverty.
Yeah.
The population needs urgent attention since they are vulnerable to become homeless. And problems are characterized by lack of housing, healthcare, social welfare support. So the pandemic affects all these three domains in a very significant manner. If you look at the homeless population globally, there are about 100 million people. And
Yeah.
2011 census suggests that there are close to 1.8 million homeless population in India. We all know
Yeah.
that the estimates may be inaccurate and the number may be much more because of the methodological problems. So if you look at the needs of the homeless population, so the
Yeah.
needs of the homeless population is a very complex phenomena because of
Yeah.
familial, social, economic, political, developmental, and geographical realities. So there may
Yeah.
be many variations across the country. Lack of
Yeah.
housing, lack of social supports, lack of employment opportunities, lack of access to health care,
Yeah.
lack of access to predictable social security, legal aid, low cost housing, lack of people friendly
Yeah.
and lack of an agency to register homeless people are some of the most important gaps that exist in the country, and therefore we don't have
Yeah.
information about their personal problems. So homeless are likely
Yeah,
to.
and I just want to come in here. I just want to come in here, Dr. Kishore, because one of the participants has actually asked this question. So, do we have an all India database of homeless people with mental health issues? Which we don't, right?
We don't have. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Hmm?
Or even other homeless people for that matter who don't stay in shelters.
No, we don't have database of people who are homeless in the country. The
Yeah.
database that we have now, the data that we have now is the survey that was carried out in the nights over a period of time in 2012, 11. That is what is the data we have. And by all
Yeah.
estimates, this is not going to be a very accurate one. So
Yeah.
the homeless are likely to be affected to a great extent in view of the
Yeah.
effects of pandemic on every aspect of human life. So the reality
Yeah.
during and after COVID, the social and economic fissures in the society is exposed because of various reasons, unemployment, depleted social safety networks, starvation, hunger, among other things. This
Yeah.
post-COVID landscape will be a fertile breeding ground for an increase in the chronic stress, anxiety, depression, alcohol dependence, self-harm, and exacerbation of chronic psychotic illness. These are the
Yeah.
physical and mental health problems. For example, homeless people have exceptionally high mortality rate and unintentional injuries. Musculoskeletal and chronic pain is an important physical ailment that they suffer from. Hunger, malnutrition, skin problems, foot problems, infectious disease, dental problems, respiratory illnesses, chronic diseases of non communicable type, sexual and reproductive difficulties, and lastly, about mental health. So the
Yeah.
post-COVID scenario is likely to be very, very grim as it evolves. Community-based
Okay.
resources to address issues related to homelessness should obviously be increased. There are
Yeah.
several programs that can fit, that can be linked to the homeless people. Okay, but
Yeah.
by all measures, the integration to benefit the homeless people has been extremely poor. There are
Yeah.
wide differences in terms of how this has been brought to convergence across the states. So
Yeah, but Dr. Kishore, before we get to the post-COVID scenario, a very practical question now that is on everybody's mind is what do we do about the people who are homeless with mental health issues living on the streets? So there are many of them, while they may be accessing some kind of social support like food, which we've seen the response of strangers has just been amazing. But what I'm talking about are there other mental health needs? Let's say they've developed an acute psychotic episode. How does one respond to that, especially in the context of an organization like the Banyan that runs services for 400 to 500 homeless people through residential options? So what do organizations like us do to respond to this acute need while protecting the safety of the existing patients?
again, Manalini, this is a very difficult question to answer for
Okay.
reasons that the preparation that is necessary to handle acute psychotic episodes at this point in time is extremely poor.
Yeah.
Because we don't know who is positive, who is affected by this disease, and who is not. Particularly
Okay.
on the background of large number of people being asymptomatic, and at some point they may develop some illness, and
Yeah.
this is likely to be highly contagious. We have
Yeah.
to give it a lot of caution. So far, what we have done is we have developed some protocols as to
Yeah.
how to prevent infection, and we also have developed a new protocol as to how we can bring in new people into the system, because at some point in time during the lockdown period, all the people were rounded up and they were accommodated in some shelters. Shelters become inadequate. They had to move to chowdhuries, community halls, and so on and so forth. But
Yeah.
in this location, no mask, no hand hygiene, no social distancing, but they were practiced because the number of people there were so high.
Right.
And if you go by the general accepted prevalence of 30% of homeless people, then the situation is likely to be very, very bad. So
Yeah.
therefore, what we have done is if there are potentially mentally ill people, subject
Yeah.
them to tests, keep them in the same shelters for 2 days, depending upon the results. If they are negative, they are taken into psychiatric institutions, and if they
Yeah.
are positive, they are to be referred to institutions where COVID patients are cared for. Now, you
Yeah.
ask me why? Because once a person develops COVID, the
Yeah.
respiratory complications in the individual is going to be very, very severe. And
Yeah.
therefore, to respond to those needs, the kind of sophistication that is necessary cannot be built in a psychiatric ward or cannot be built in liaison with a medical ward. So you have to create a separate facility for that. At this
Yeah.
point in time, creating such a facility for people with mental health problem exists nowhere. In the literature, there is some evidence that South Korea has tried to create a facility like this. In fact,
Yeah.
did a survey across all the 43 mental hospitals in India, whether
Yeah.
anybody has been able to create any similar structure. In
Yeah.
fact, the answer is no. Which
Right.
means any person who has developed mental health problems during the COVID crisis has not received care. That remains a fact. We will have
Yeah.
to proactively reach out to people by doing many things.
Yeah.
Train shelter coordinators to identify these problems, reach out to these people, organize testing to these people, bring
Yeah.
in those people who are COVID negative, and of
Yeah.
course, if they are COVID positive, and I would think the number of people who are COVID positive in the homeless population is much, much less because
Yes.
they live a very isolated life.
Yeah.
They by de novo have a large amount of social distancing. They have
Mm-hmm.
no possibility of coming in close contact with people. But by
Yeah.
chance, if they come and
Yeah.
they are totally defenseless because they don't receive any care. So
Yeah.
bringing in people who are COVID negative is what is happening at this point in time. COVID
Okay.
positive patients obviously go to secondary care hospitals, medical college hospitals, or other psychiatric institutions, and
Yeah.
they are, other tertiary care institutions at this point in time.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kishore. I'm just going to stop you for 1 second here to ask Shehnaz a question. Shehnaz, can you tell us in your shelter or, in your experience in the past 3-4 months, anybody with mental illness has come into your shelter or you've tried to help somebody on the streets with a mental health problem? Do you have any experience in that regard?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, please. And if you want to speak in Hindi also, it's fine. We will translate it.
Oh, मैम मेंटल हेल्थ के इश्यूज आते रहते हैं लोगों के पास। वहाँ पर बहुत ज्यादा टेंशन होती है लोगों को, उनको बहुत ज्यादा मतलब बच्चों को लेकर के, अपनी जर्नी को लेकर के और अपने फ्यूचर को लेकर के भी बहुत टेंस रहते हैं। और वो मतलब चाहते हैं वहां से कुछ लोग निकलना, अपने बच्चे को आगे बढ़ाना। और फिर अभी कोई कोविड के सिचुएशन में तो अभी कोई काम करने नहीं जा रहे हैं, पैसे वगैरह भी नहीं है उनके पास, तो इस वजह से टेंस है। उनके हेडेक होता है, बहुत ज्यादा हेडेक होता है। मेरे से काफी लोग बोलते हैं कि मेडिसिन है तुम्हारे पास हेडेक की, काफी बार पूछते हैं वो। मैं पूछती हूँ क्या वो, तो कहते हैं कि आइस के थोड़ा अपर हेड में दर्द हो रहा है बहुत ज्यादा। तो हेडेक वगैरह वो डिप्रेशन, जब स्ट्रेस लेते हैं तभी होता है। तो हाँ, तो मेरे को काफी बार ऐसा लगता है कि ये बहुत ज्यादा स्ट्रेस ले रहे हैं, इस वजह से उनको मतलब जो है डिप्रेशन में जा रहे हैं धीरे धीरे।
तो आप उनके इलाज के बारे में कुछ हो रहा है क्या वहाँ पर?
उनके इलाज के बारे में तो अभी फिलहाल कुछ नहीं, क्योंकि वहाँ पे मेडिसिन वगैरह अभी काफी टाइम से डॉक्टर्स नहीं आए हैं वहाँ पे। कोई टेस्ट वगैरह भी, जैसे मैम ने कहा कि अगर कोविड टेस्ट करेंगे हम तो वहाँ पे भी पॉजिटिव निकल भी सकते हैं और नहीं भी। तो वहाँ पे अगर टेस्ट किए जाए तो मे भी हो सकता है और नहीं भी हो सकता है, क्योंकि हम श्योर उस चीज को लेकर के।
तो एक और क्वेश्चन है, लेकिन जो आपने कहा मैं इंग्लिश में बता दूंगी. So what Shehnaz is saying is that there are many people who are staying in the shelters who have some difficulties, and they're going through psychosocial distress in terms of a lot of uncertainty that we've all been talking about. Where are their children going to study? What is going to be the future? They've lost out on jobs. So in that sense, she's talking about tension, and she's also talked about testing that needs to be done, but and treatment that needs to happen, but it hasn't happened so far. But Shehnaz, एक और क्वेश्चन है मेरे पास कि जो मानसिक रोगी सड़क पे रहते हैं ना, तो उन लोगों कोई आपके शेल्टर में आया क्या? Sorry, my Hindi is terrible, so I'm just translating it the best way I know how to.
कोई ऐसा तो मैम नहीं है, बट वो है कि काफी लोग वहाँ पे मेंटली, हाँ, 1-2 लोग हैं जो हो गए थे, जिनको मेंटली इलनेस हो गई थी, जिनको दिमागी रूप से बहुत मतलब परेशान हो गए थे, जिसकी वजह से वो अपने आप को ही मतलब मारने लगे और फिर दूसरे लोगों पे ईंटा वगैरह मारने लगे, फेंकने। और काफी ज्यादा फिर उनको पुलिस वाले भी लेकर के गए थे अपने साथ हॉस्पिटल। तो वो बहुत ज्यादा मतलब उनका जो दिमागी रूप से बहुत ज्यादा बीमार हो गए थे।
तो जब हॉस्पिटल ले गए, एडमिशन हुआ क्या या ट्रीटमेंट हुआ वहाँ पर?
यस मैम, ट्रीटमेंट हुआ होगा। मैंने जब बस पुलिस को गाड़ी में ले जाते हुए देखा था, बाकी वहाँ पे उन्हें जो है जो मतलब थे उनको एडमिट करवा करके वो आ गए थे।
एडमिट करवा दिया लेकिन?
हाँ, एडमिट करवा दिया। तो अभी वो
Can I come in, Mrinalini?
Yes, Dr. Kishore.
The COVID crisis has brought out two important factors, that the interoperability almost came to standstill.
Right.
Before, there was no ferrying of homeless people from one state to another. And because of the lockdown and Section 144 being implemented in all the cities and towns, all people were rounded up and put into facilities.
Right.
The chowdhuries and mahals and shelters and so on. At one point in time, thousands of people existed in these facilities. And the number of people who were mentally ill amongst the homeless population continued. And some of them could have had negative symptoms that may not have been observed. But what
Okay.
is important is the priority for communicable disease, control of communicable disease, preventing the spread of communicable disease became an important preoccupation
Yeah.
rather than looking at the needs of the homeless population in a specific manner. And the biggest problem is that is why in a situation like this it is
Yeah.
important for us to coordinate across different sectors and see that the best result can be achieved by a very diligent coordination between health, social sector, education sector, development sector, law enforcement sector, judicial sector. Now, this kind of coordination obviously is lacking within our country
Yeah.
because
So,
we don't have
Mrinalini,
yes.
this nature.
Yes,
Mrinalini,
Induji.
I just want to come in here. Like
Yeah.
during the period of COVID, we had a very unusual crisis
Yeah.
where the food being distributed at Yamuna Pushta shelters at one point got out of hand, and due to which 3 shelters were burned down.
Yes. Yes. I was just coming to that. Yeah.
Yes, were burned down, and then that became a problem because there were about a couple of thousands of people on the Yamuna banks. And that's when the Delhi government, and we were part of the advisory panel, and so there was this call taken by Delhi government to open up school shelters and take these people to those shelters as such, the school
Yeah.
shelters. So,
Yeah.
but one thing which see also, like, since we were there as advisory panel members, we immediately told the Delhi government that please put in the counselors there, please put in the health facility there, please get different bodies, municipality, everybody to come in there into the school centers and check out for people. So that bit, the very next day when I was there, because we also visited the shelters and all, we found counselors and all there. I think that is very important. So I would say that, of course, Delhi government came out with a very good order which talked about different departments coming together to handle this crisis, and where there's a mental health issue, IBHAS and all would come in. So I think that was a good order to take care of this exigency as such. It could have gone out of hand, but I think thankfully it was taken care of.
Yeah. So I just thank you, Induji. So my next question is to Amita, because
Sorry, Mrinalini, I just wanted to say that, it seems that some state governments are, much more sensitive than others.
Yeah.
But can this be left to discretion? Can it be left to individuals?
Yes.
In Delhi, of course, we have a very good chief secretary.
Yeah.
We have presently we have a good head of the DUSIP as well. We have we have very enlightened Supreme Court monitoring members, committee members.
Yeah.
But there has to be an institutional response, which is much more robust.
Yeah.
And it cannot be left to individuals or personalities or people, but what is the role of the state, the central government? I mean, where does that come in? It is primarily the lockdown, which was announced without advance information, giving just 4 hours notice, that brought complete devastation. While I agree with Dr. Kishore that it's a first time pandemic, surely you could have given people adequate notice of a day or two. So probably the most marginalized either didn't feature in your scheme of things or didn't matter.
Yeah.
And it is this invisibility, and in this is what we are struggling against. These are people who matter. These are people, like Hindu keeps saying, who sustain our cities.
Yeah.
These are people without whom our cities will not run. And what is it that we do for them? And I just wanted to say that Manjula from Telangana has joined us with many of her residents. They also want some Hindi translations.
Okay.
And many of them are, I think 9 of them are shelter residents themselves. So at some stage at the end, maybe we can get them to speak as well about their own experiences. But again, Telangana government is providing some basic food presently and has put in a 13 odd temporary shelters, which was always required. They needed about 25 shelters, but Manjula can tell us better.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do, Amita, before we get to the systemic responses, is that I've been privy to two very important cases of people who are homeless and mentally ill who've really gone through a lot of distress at this time. And I will ask these two questions in Hindi, and then we can translate it rather than do it the other way around, because
Sure.
we have more people comfortable with Hindi, as I can see in the participants also.
Sure.
So actually, Amita ji, what I wanted to ask you is that जो आप एक मानसिक रोगी को एडमिट करने की कोशिश किया ना आपने दिल्ली में इबास के साथ, उसके बारे में आप कुछ बता सकते हैं हमें?
तो ये था कि एक औरत, मेरी हिंदी में कुछ गलतियां हैं तो प्लीज माफ कर दीजिएगा, मेरी मदर टंग मलयालम है, मैं इतना दिन दिल्ली में रहा, लेकिन मेरी हिंदी थोड़ा टूटा फूटा है, बट मैनेज करती है। जेंडर वेंडर नहीं है, लेकिन आजकल जेंडर वेंडर इम्पोर्टेंट नहीं है। आई थिंक सो क्या हुआ कि दो जना को हॉस्कॉस मार्केट में मिला था। एक औरत, यंग लेडी था, तो वो काफी दिन से मार्केट में बैठा देखा है। एक आम आदमी पार्टी का वर्कर ने हमारे सामने बताया ये बात, और हम ढूंढने गए और मिला उनको। और एक यंग लड़का भी मिला था हमें, और दोनों काफी डिस्टर्ब्ड लग रहे थे हमें। तो हम निम्हांस ने इबास को कांटेक्ट कर दिया, डॉक्टर निमेश देसाई, और उन्होंने काफी रिस्पॉन्सिव था। इमीडिएटली बताया मुझे कि हम अपना टीम को भेजेंगे, मोबाइल मेडिकल यूनिट्स, लेकिन पुलिस का मदद चाहिए, पुलिस को असिस्ट करना है, पुलिस को ही रेस्क्यू करना है, हम प्रोसेस को सपोर्ट करेंगे। तो हम डीसीपी के साथ गए, बात किया, लेकिन सब लोग बताया कि अभी कोविड का टाइम है, हम बिजी है, ये इतना ये हमारी प्रायोरिटी नहीं रहता है अभी इस समय। हमने कहा था कि अभी ये प्रायोरिटी है, लेकिन क्या हुआ, जब टीम पहुंचा था, पुलिस और टीम के बीच में कुछ बहस हुआ। टीम ने बताया कि पुलिस को गाड़ी जो रेस्क्यू करके जाएंगे उसके गाड़ी में बैठना चाहिए, क्योंकि ये पुलिस का ही काम है, हम सिर्फ सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं। और पुलिस ने बताया नहीं, कोविड का टाइम है, हम नहीं बैठेंगे गाड़ी में। तो ये 1 घंटे तक चले, अप एंड डाउन चले, आर्ग्यूमेंट्स हुआ, और फिर फिर वो ऑलमोस्ट वापस चले गए बिना रेस्क्यू करके। फिर मैंने डॉक्टर देसाई को फिर फोन किया, उन्होंने टीम को वापस भेजा। फिर नेक्स्ट पॉइंट आया था कि उनको वॉलंटियरली बैठना है गाड़ी पे, कोई जबरदस्ती करके, एज पर द लॉ जबरदस्ती उसको नहीं बिठा पाएंगे। थैंकफुली सुकू ने अपने आप बैठा था, रिंकू भी बैठा था, बैठा था गाड़ी में, और हम ले गए इबास। ये 10-12 घंटा का होल एक्सरसाइज था, और पुलिस साथ फिर उनकी गाड़ी में फॉलो किया, मैंने भी गए उसके साथ, और वहाँ एडमिशन भी हो गए, दोनों का तबीयत ट्रीट भी हुआ, ठीक भी हो गए। रिंकू वापस चले गए, और सुकू अभी एक शेल्टर में शिफ्ट हो गई, जो हर्ष मंदिर और कबीर बस्ती का शेल्टर में ट्रांसफर हो रहे थे लास्ट वीक। पहले एक शेल्टर आश्रय अभियान में ट्रांसफर करने का कोशिश किया, लेकिन कम्युनिटी में था, और वो लोग कह दिया कि कम्युनिटी का लोग ओपोज कर रहे थे कोई भी पेशेंट को लाने के लिए, क्योंकि वो सोच रहे हैं वो कोविड पेशेंट है। हाँ। तो ये स्ट्रगल रहा, लेकिन नतीजा अच्छा रहा कि लास्ट में दोनों को भी मेडिकल ट्रीटमेंट मिला, दोनों ठीक भी हो गए। तो उसका मतलब था कि टाइमली इंटरवेंशन का इतना जरूरत है, और सिर्फ वो टाइमली इंटरवेंशन के थ्रू वो दोनों बिल्कुल ठीक हो गए, और दे आर ऑलमोस्ट रेडी कि रिहेबिलिटेट हो सकता है। तो इतना ही, जैसा बीमारी है, बुखार है, कॉफ है, टाइफाइड है, उसके लिए जितना दवाई चाहिए उतना ही एक मेंटल हेल्थ चैलेंज को चाहिए, एंड ये लोगों को समझना चाहिए। लेकिन वहाँ का टीम, डॉक्टर निमेश देसाई का टीम है, और उसको पर्टिकुलरली डॉक्टर निमेश देसाई को मैं बहुत थैंक्स बोलेंगे। लेकिन हमेशा क्या हमारे सामने आ रहे थे कि इंडिविजुअल्स हु लीड इंस्टीट्यूशंस, जैसा एक निमेश देसाई, एक विजय देव, एक विकास आनंद, ये एक इंदु प्रकाश, ये सब होने से थिंग्स मूव हो जाते हैं, एक हर्ष मंदर। लेकिन इंस्टीट्यूशनल रिस्पॉन्स हमें ठीक करना, या तमिलनाडु में शायद एक बैनियन, या बिहार में शायद एक तारीख, लेकिन उससे how do we get an institutional response from the state?
Yeah.
The state is the protector, has to discharge its obligations to its most marginalized citizens under right to life. Where is the state? Where is the missing state in India?
Yeah, absolutely.
This is the problem I have, you know.
Yeah. So actually, I want to thank you, Amita ji. Dr. Kishore, मैं आपसे पूछना चाहती हूँ, एक अमिता जी ने जो क्वेश्चन पूछा उसके बारे में हम बाद में रिस्पॉन्ड करेंगे, लेकिन हमारा भी एक केस था एक लेडी स्किज़ोफ्रेनिया के साथ जो अभी ब्रोंकियल आस्थमा का भी डायग्नोसिस हुआ है ना उनको।
जी
हाँ, तो अभी उनका केस बहुत हमारे लिए बहुत कॉम्प्लेक्स था और अभी भी वो चक्कर चल रहा है, तो उसके बारे में आप कुछ बता सकते हैं, और उसके बाद इंदु जी और डॉक्टर किशोर ये सिस्टमिक रिस्पांस के बारे में कुछ बोल सकते हैं तो अच्छा होगा।
जी, I agree with the observation of our colleague about the difficulties that was encountered in helping access mental health care. In fact, we were working on a facility for COVID positive mentally ill patients in Chennai city. Therefore, we had to survey all the mental hospitals to look at and understand from their experience. We learned that the number of people who came into contact with these services was in 2 digits for the entire country. The numbers may not have been more than 35 in this period. So that itself suggests that each hospital, it may be 2 or 3 or 1 or at times no. So therefore, these difficulties, the numbers were very less because people did not pick it up.
Yeah.
The complexity that is involved in taking the person to the hospital was so much that people just simply gave away.
Yeah.
In some situations, people simply put the mentally ill person in a lorry or a train to be sent away to some other place. In some cases, there was apathy or neglect on the part of the healthcare professionals. In fact,
yeah, because our client also had to stay in the sleep in the ambulance, no?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the lady who developed asthma, bronchial asthma, exacerbation of bronchial asthma, she was referred to
a private hospital. Yeah.
And they wanted the COVID testing to be done. She went to COVID testing. There was no bed. She had to spend 1 day in the ambulance itself. But we decided to bring her back to where she was.
Yeah.
And by God's grace, she did not test COVID positive. And we extensively investigated her. We found that she has chronic lung disease, a condition called as bronchiectasis. In fact, I continue to treat her now. She was admitted in the hospital, investigated, tuberculosis was ruled out. She has bronchiectasis and she continues treatment. Similarly, I have come across 4 cases of pneumonia in this COVID period, and with absolutely no support coming from other systems, we had to struggle on our own. I also talk about 2 experiences where the government systems simply failed miserably the homeless people. This 62-year-old man was running temperature. He was having 103 degrees at one time. He also had cough. We informed this to the corporation doctors and they organized an ambulance. The sanitary inspector and the sanitary officer took them to the hospital, dropped him there and disappeared.
Yeah.
So 5 days they kept updating us saying that this old man is getting well, he is fine, the results are pending, only for us to realize that neither testing was done nor any attention was given to him, and he went back to wherever he was. Then
he went back to the streets.
He went off to the streets. So we brought him back to the shelter. We could not bring him to the shelter, but we had to accommodate him in a house, organize somebody to stay with him. Then organize COVID testing for him Fortunately, it turned out to be negative. We
Yeah.
treated his lung disease, and now this individual is fine. Now, these kind of stories are
Yeah.
not reflected by people because the issues around homeless people is the lowest priority. Nobody is likely to talk about it, and nobody is likely to bring it to the public platform for many people to understand. Neither will the government officials be sensitive because this population is voiceless and invisible. So
Yeah.
therefore, there may be hundreds of experiences across the country.
Yeah.
And for us to develop a very proper, appropriate response,
Yeah.
this COVID crisis will teach us many new examples. And if there is a similar problem in the future,
Yeah.
our ability to respond to the needs are going to be different.
Yeah.
She also raised a very important question.
Yeah.
We say often government fails in responsibility to deliver and take care of people.
Yeah.
We have come across a lot of resistance from the community, and that is concurred by her in Delhi example also.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we rescue these people and take them to a facility closer to where the community lives.
Yeah.
They oppose and say you should not bring this person here, you should not keep this person here.
Yeah.
So the community also will have to be responsive. After all, there are people who are sick.
Yeah.
There are people who are affected by a viral infection.
Yeah.
I'm talking about COVID tested positive patients. I'm
Yes.
talking about anybody who is running temperature, anybody who is sick is looked at potential COVID,
Yeah.
and the community becomes extremely hostile. So there
Yeah.
has to be a lot of acceptance from the community also
Yeah.
for all of us to join hands together and carry out these enormous challenging tasks. By no means it is a very simple task for us to cater to.
Absolutely. Actually, thank you, Dr. Kishore. इंदु जी, मैं आपसे पूछना चाहती हूँ कि ऐसे बहुत ज़्यादा केसेस आ रहे हैं, सिर्फ 2 संस्था से इतना ज़्यादा प्रॉब्लम्स आ रहे हैं, तो और ज़्यादा ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस है पूरे इंडिया में, और होमलेस, एंड देयर आर सम प्लेसेस वेयर देयर आर नो ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस, देयर आर नो रिस्पॉन्सेज. अभी आप ये द हालत ऑफ होमलेस पीपल विद मेंटल हेल्थ इश्यूज, उसके बारे में आप कुछ कमेंट करना चाहते हैं कि, और एडवाइस या इनपुट्स देना चाहते हैं, क्या कर सकते हैं आगे से? हाँ
जी, उसमें आई थिंक you want me to say Hindi or English?
I think Hindi may be better because I used a little English in my question, so we can always translate.
Okay. देखिए मैं तुरंत एक चीज कहना चाहता हूँ कि जो oh my god, okay,
there's an echo coming. Yeah,
echo coming, echo coming, one second. Is it okay now? Is it okay now?
It's okay, it's perfect.
Yeah, in fact what I want to say here is what I want to say here is that ki
oh, there's an echo.
आप एक सेकंड रुको, I think 1 second, let me see if I can do something on this. Why is the echo coming? 1 minute. 1 second.
Yeah, in the meantime, anybody, can you hear us, Sindhuji? Is it fine?
I can hear. Is it okay
now? Perfect. Yeah, perfect. Please say.
Yeah, मैं जो कहना चाह रहा था कि आपने पहली बात उठाई थी, आप लोगों ने होमलेस के डेटा पे बात उठाया था, मैं एक जो है कि कितने लोग होमलेस हैं दिल्ली, मतलब पूरे हिंदुस्तान में. मैं एक चीज बताना चाहता हूँ, जो अभी डॉक्टर किशोर ने बात रखा कि जो मतलब 17 लाख लोग होमलेस बताए गए हैं सेंसस 2011 द्वारा, वो पूरा एक फ्रॉड है, फार्स है. सेंसस सही तरीके से होमलेस लोगों को एनुमरेट करता नहीं है, तो हमारे पास 3 गुना होमलेस होंगे जो है, एक वो चीज है. दूसरा जो है, आई वुड से कि देयर इज अ कंटिन्यूअम in terms of you spoke about the systemic response, right? सरकारी ढांचा में रिस्पांस कैसा होता है? There is a continuum of systems response. One is at the one end you have got an overdrive of system for the rich and the elite, and there is a total system deficit for the homeless and for the poor and for the informal sector people. So जो हमारे होमलेस लोग हैं, उनके लिए जो है, मैं साफ बताऊंगा कि उनके लिए, मतलब हम लोग चूंकि दिल्ली में थे सब कुछ था, बट आई कैन टेल यू Still, we were at lots of pains, you know. Just as Amita said rightly, individuals don't make a systemic change. The system has to be respond, and individuals like us, maybe, you know, we might be able to do now, but in future, if we don't have a robust system, I think we'll fail terribly. The union government, as Amita said, I agree with it, was a total disaster. They were totally absent from the total scene as such, you know. And मतलब हम लोगों के लिए काम कर पाना जो है, I must tell you that even to open up the schools and all in Delhi for the people to go and take shelter, the local communities there were in a position. The school teachers who were entrusted responsibility of taking care of these people, वो लोग स्कूल टीचर्स प्रोटेस्ट करने लगे, भैया ये इनको कहाँ लेके आ गए हैं, होमलेस लोगों को, माइग्रेंट्स लोगों को, कल हमको भी कोविड हो जाएगा. So in a way जो था कि हमारा जो पूरा समाज है, see that's a problem, you know, I have with the term called social distancing. Our entire caste, entire structure of society believes in social distancing.
Yes.
So COVID was a very right example of social distancing. We talk about physical distancing, you know.
That's
so,
right. That's the correct word.
Yeah. So I would say, you know, basically I would say had it not been for civil society in the entire country, I think we were in for a huge disaster. I must say, okay, I'm from civil society. It's not that I'm applauding myself. There were large number of organizations in Delhi and other parts of the country. मतलब उन स्वयंसेवी संस्थाओं ने काफी मेहनत का काम किया है, जिसके कारण कि हम रिलीफ का काम कर पाए हैं. सरकार के भरोसे रहते हैं हम, तो बड़े तादाद में लोग मारे जाते हैं, बड़ी तादाद में लोगों का अधिकारों का अवहेलना होता, अतिक्रमण होता जो है. You know?
लेकिन अभी आप NULM शेल्टर मॉनिटरिंग कमेटी का मेंबर भी है ना, तो उसके हिसाब से आप बोल सकते हैं कि होमलेस मेंटली लोगों के लिए NULM शेल्टर्स का कुछ प्रेपरेशन होना चाहिए, हो रहा है? क्योंकि जो आप कहते हैं दिल्ली में, वही हम तमिलनाडु में करेंगे, हैदराबाद तेलंगाना में होगा, आंध्र में होगा, तो वही सिस्टम्स को एस्टैब्लिश करना है NULM को वेरी सीरियसली अभी.
Absolutely. देखिए उसमें मेरा कहना यह है कि हम लोगों को आज भी, मतलब मैं जैसे जब बैलेंस मैं आया था लास्ट ईयर, आप लोगों से बात किया था मैंने कि हमें हर शेल्टर में कम से कम एक काउंसलर की जरूरत है. मेंटल हेल्थ इतना इंपॉर्टेंट एलिमेंट है, यू नो, उसके अंदर काउंसलर्स एक भी नहीं होते हैं. जो तमाम ऑर्गेनाइजेशन शेल्टर्स चलाते हैं, द शेल्टर एजेंसीज, दे डोंट हैव काउंसलर्स अपॉइंटेड इन द टीम एज सच. और हमारे होमलेस लोगों को जो है, basically homeless जो हैं, they already are at the nerve's end.
Yeah.
They are facing the worst of the life. You know, there has been no social investment, no investment in terms of love, care, whatever. So we have our administration with totally apathetic and nonchalant. तो जो हमेशा, मतलब जिसको हमेशा आपने किनारे पर रखा है, जिसके आपने हमेशा social distancing maintain किया है, they are at the wit's end and they have huge mental issues. So we require large number of, I would say, counseling support, and also I would say, you know, इसमें जो मैं चाहूँगा आप लोगों से बात करना कि we require a big support of the larger society who can be mentors to them, you know, who can guide them also in life. Be a big support to them, you know.
But I suggest, can I come in here, Mrinal?
Yes, Amita, I was just going to call you.
Until the affected community center stage in their own struggle, things will never change, you know, in the long term. And therefore, I suggest that, you know, homeless citizens be organized, come together, start representing their issues.
Sure.
We have to play a supportive role. I agree with Indu, but we have to get people like Shehnaz and others, the Women's Collective, to come center stage, to start negotiating with the government, to start, you know, putting down their rights, and to start articulating their needs. Because until the farmers came center stage, they were an invisible lord. You know? We have close to 15,000 votes in Delhi. It's time that the voters flex their muscles. I mean, became stakeholders, became part of this of the city and demanded their rights.
Sure.
How long can we, you know, we can't be dependent on somebody's charity, somebody's goodwill. You know, it's always somebody, you know someone, and therefore you approach them, they help, and then you're grateful for that. It has to be much more organized. And I think, you know, it's 20 years since the struggle began. It is time that the homeless citizens demanded a right to housing, came out and agitated for their rights, for a better deal.
Yeah.
as stakeholders of the city.
Yeah.
And enough of shortchanging them, putting them into dirty, congested shelters with rats swarming around, and with no beds. I mean, last June we had 130 women come together to give a representation to the chief secretary. We asked for about 12 things. We asked for beds, we asked for mosquito nets, we asked for livelihoods, we asked for Aadhaar cards, we asked for midday meals. All of which was promised, and then I believe a tender was given, and then the tender guy, the last minute, the beds guy couldn't fulfill his tender. By the time it was February, they were looking for another tender, and then March, COVID struck. I mean, this is the pace. It's nobody's priority.
Yeah.
So we have to say that housing, I mean, the shelters is only a band-aid solution to keep people alive, and it's only the first step. The next step should be, rehabilitation and the training, the entitlements, and then ultimately it's housing. I mean, where are the economically weaker and low-income housing in cities? They talk about smart cities. Where is the planning for? If we had economically weaker and low-income housing, we would not have seen the migration. The terrible, devastating scenes we saw of people walking back home.
Yeah.
Wherever people had housing, people have stayed back. Wherever people gave them social security. So it's truly the absence of a lack of monitoring of minimum wages, a lack of demand for housing. The Kerala government is talking about housing for all. It is talking about workers' dormitories, hostels, and housing for everybody.
Yeah.
So why isn't it that these demands are coming center stage? Of course, people with mental health challenges will have to be assisted by mentors from the general, homeless citizens who are otherwise an enterprising lot. I mean, to have survived on the streets, they have huge reservoirs of strength, of hope, of entrepreneurship, and all of this to have just survived. You and me, Mrinalini or Indu, we will not survive, or Dr. Kishore, for even 2 days on the street or in a shelter. So the very fact, why is it that we are not channelizing these resources, human resources of imagination, and ये मैं हिंदी में भी कहना चाहते हैं रेजिडेंट्स के लिए कि आप लोग ऑर्गेनाइज क्यों नहीं कर रहे हैं? आपको सेंटर स्टेज आना चाहिए आपका ओन स्ट्रगल में, क्योंकि जब तक आप अपना स्ट्रगल को सरकार के सामने नहीं रखेंगे, क्योंकि ये स्टेट का ड्यूटी है टू प्रोवाइड इकोनॉमिकली वीकर, लो इनकम हाउसिंग, वर्कर डॉर्मेट्री, men's hostel, women's hostels, housing, 1 room, 2 room, which, Tamil Nadu, I think Slum Clearance Board has some housing facility. The Kerala government has. Some states at least have a modicum of at least talk or some goodwill there. But why isn't it that we are not pushing for the basic minimum? And जब तक लोग अपना own struggle सरकार के सामने नहीं रखेंगे, एजिटेट नहीं करेंगे, कुछ नहीं होने वाला है. हम साइड से सपोर्ट कर सकता है, हम साइड से आपको पूरा ताकत दे सकता है, आइडियाज, सब कुछ, लेकिन आप लोगों को अपने स्ट्रगल में अपना भाई बहन को लेकर के एक मूवमेंट फोर्ज करना है, जिसके थ्रू जैसा हमारे किसान लोग, लाखों लोग, किसान लोग मिल करके दिल्ली में आया था अपना डिमांड्स रखने के लिए. हर एक स्टेट में, हर एक सिटी में लोग ऑर्गेनाइज करेंगे तो कोई आपको टेक फॉर ग्रांटेड नहीं करेंगे. कोई भी एमएलए को अप्रोच करना है, एमपीज को अप्रोच करना, मिनिस्टर्स को, स्टेट को, सेक्रेटरीज को, ब्यूरोक्रेट्स को, क्योंकि वो सबको जिम्मेदारियां होते हैं लोगों के लिए काम करने के लिए. वो गवर्नमेंट सर्वेंट्स हैं, वो हमारी मालिक थोड़ी है.
So actually, I have a very specific systemic question, which will be my last question, and then we have multiple questions from panelists, and I have to ask all 4 of you this question. That look, now with NULM shelters, you are supposed to have specialized shelters for vulnerable populations. So whether it is with children or people with developmental disabilities, people with other disabilities, or people with mental health issues. Now, like Dr. Kishore and Induji and even Amita spoke about clients who have mental health problems, and let's say we cannot accommodate them in our own existing shelters, maybe there's risk of infection or lack of space. At this point, we definitely need to look at the specialist shelters and maybe even increase the number of specialist shelters, and have people manning those shelters from different organizations, right? So what are we doing in that regard? What should we do in that regard to step up more NULM specialist shelters with interventions specifically for homeless mentally ill people?
Okay.
Can I come first?
Yes, please.
जब तक हम एजिटेट नहीं करेंगे और प्रेशर नहीं रखेंगे स्टेट गवर्नमेंट के ऊपर और सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के ऊपर, कुछ होने वाला नहीं है। क्योंकि ये एनजीओज का काम नहीं है। एनजीओज का काम है एक मॉडल पायलट करना, एक मुश्किल चीज का सोल्यूशन निकालना और उनको स्केल अप करना, ये सरकार का काम है। तो जब तक हम सरकार के ऊपर प्रेशर ना डालें, इलेक्टेड रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स, एमपी, एमएलएज, मिनिस्टर्स, ब्यूरोक्रेट्स, स्टेट मॉनिटरिंग कमिटीज और फिर कोर्ट्स में भी हम जब ये डिमांड नहीं रखेंगे और लॉन्ग टर्म एजिटेट नहीं करेंगे और आर्टिकुलेट नहीं होगा, ये कुछ होने वाला नहीं है। तो वी हैव टू कंटिन्यू द स्ट्रगल, एंड इसमें होमलेस सिटीजन्स का शामिल होना चाहिए इसमें, क्योंकि ये एनजीओ सिर्फ काम करने से नहीं होगा। ये स्टेक होल्डर्स अपना लड़ाई अपने हाथ में लेना चाहिए और स्ट्रगल और सामने आना चाहिए, तभी ये आगे जाएगा।
इंदु जी, आप क्या बताना चाहते हैं NULM शेल्टर्स के बारे में?
जी नहीं, आई थिंक जो बात अमिता ने बात रखा है वो बिल्कुल सही बात है कि जो एजेंसी है वो जो सिटी मेकर्स की बात करते हैं, नगर निर्माता की बात करते हैं, उनकी होनी चाहिए कि आई थिंक उनको ये बात उठाना चाहिए। और खास तौर पे जैसे कि अब चेन्नई में और दिल्ली में कुछ स्पेशलाइज्ड शेल्टर्स हैं हमारे पास, हैदराबाद में भी कुछ है हमारे पास, लेकिन पूरे देश में जो है ऐसे शेल्टर्स की जरूरत है जहां पर कि शेल्टर्स पुरुषों के लिए, महिलाओं के लिए, बच्चों के लिए, विकलांग लोगों के लिए, बुजुर्ग लोगों के लिए, मेंटली इल के लिए, प्रेग्नेंट लैक्टेटिंग मदर्स के लिए, ऐसे यानी हर ग्रुप के लिए अलग अलग शेल्टर्स होगा, तब जाके काम चलेगा। और ये मुझे लगता है कि ऑफ कोर्स ये जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट केस चल रहा है हम लोगों का जो है, आई थिंक in that case also Amita is also an advocate. I think we should be asking the Supreme Court also to pass orders कि जिसमें कि the specialized shelters becomes a norm in all the states, क्योंकि कह जाना कि शेल्टर्स होना चाहिए इनके लिए, उससे नहीं होता है जब तक कि सरकार न करे और नीचे से डिमांड भी ना आए। तो अमिता ने बात सही बोला है कि हम लोगों को जो है, जैसे शनाज हमारे साथ है, तो यानी सब लोग जो लोग हैं हमारे नगर निर्माता लोग हैं, उनको भी जो है अपनी आवाज को और बुलंद करने की जरूरत है कि भाई वो इस शहर को बनाने वाले हैं, देश को बनाने वाले हैं, उनका इस पूरा अधिकार है हर एंटाइटलमेंट्स के लिए। तो इज्जत से जीना और हर एंटाइटलमेंट जो है, चाहे वो पढ़ाई हो, शिक्षा हो, पेंशन जो भी है, सबको मिलने की जरूरत है वो क्योंकि
तो अभी तो इसके लिए हम कुछ कॉन्क्रीट स्टेप्स ले सकते हैं क्या? क्योंकि ये नंबर सिर्फ बड़ा होने वाला है, the number of people who are homeless and mentally ill is only going to increase. So are there any concrete steps that we can take?
मुझे लगता है जैसे कि अभी बैनियन जो विश्व बात कर रहा है, खासतौर से दिल्ली के संदर्भ में आप लोग बात कर रहे हैं कि टू ओपन अप फैसिलिटी फॉर पीपल हु आर मेंटली इल एज सच। हमें शायद ऐसे अब आपका जो पूरा जो बैनियन और बाम का जो मॉडल है, होम अगेन वाला मॉडल जो है, where the mentally ill people are asked live with the community and community takes charge of it। हमें community rehabilitation models को बढ़ावा देने की जरूरत पड़ेगी। तो a charter from the affected people needs to reach the government and tell the government that listen, hey, this has been tried out not somewhere in Switzerland, it's been tried out in Chennai,
yes,
and this is a model that is doable। And tell the government that listen, we want to have home again models all across the country and the globe as well। ये as a charter, as a demand should go from the people, affected people as such। It's doable for sure, बिल्कुल कर होना चाहिए और लोग कर सकते हैं इसके बकायदे। और वो 10 साल नहीं चाहिए इसके लिए, हमें एक ही साल चाहिए सब करने के लिए। एक मन चाहिए सबका जो है, एक पूरे मन से करेंगे हम तो संभव है, चाहे कैसे करना चाहे ना करना चाहे, हम दबाव डाल के उनसे करवा सकते हैं।
ठीक है, thank you so much Indu ji. So I'm just going to, we have about 15 minutes, so I'm just going to get into some of the questions. Abhilash, Anjali, can you just unlock so that he can ask the question directly? We've addressed some of the questions, but I think he wanted to ask a few more questions.
I have to do that. I can't see the option here.
Okay. Okay. Abhilash, are you there? He's saying he's typing. Let him type it. Okay.
Mrinalini,
Yes, Doctor.
I have a couple of things to add, Mrinalini.
Yes, please go ahead, Dr. Kishore. By then he can type the question.
When we look at homelessness and mental illness, we need to understand that these are two different sects of people with different needs. When it comes to the homelessness with mental illness, once we establish a special psychosocial center for their care, some of the problems can be addressed by implementing the Mental Health Care Act. And as part of that, minimal standards in mental health care, and therefore you ensure a certain amount of quality of care. Situations such as this, many of the efforts of the volunteers have been kept away because of the fear. If you look at earthquake or flood, volunteers who could have jumped into fray and worked with the system much higher compared to what it was now. It was all negligent, and people operated from the periphery rather than from ground zero because of the fear of infection. So therefore, each disaster poses a new kind of challenge, and a new kind of challenge requires new kind of understanding, new ways of dealing with people. And if you look at the number of people who work from online to support for people is unusually very high during this particular stage. But it may not be the only answer for people who cannot be reached. And therefore, we should develop a group of people with all the sophistication that is necessary to protect them, reach out to people and bring in lot of resources to coordinate so that every need of this individual realistically is met in the community.
Right.
The fear of contracting an infection, many people have kept away, and that kept away a lot of potential volunteerism, involvement and support, mobilization in the community. And for me, that is a biggest loss that has happened in this disaster.
Right.
Volunteers could not participate, they could not bring in their resources, they could not put in their time, and they could not add to the system.
Yeah, this is a very real problem actually.
Whatever we say, the government only can do some things. The government cannot do many things. Voluntary sector, families, communities can do a lot more than what they think they can do. So in all aspects, COVID crisis took away a lot of support that could have generated from the community, from volunteers, and that became a very big gap that existed in the community. But for overcoming these things, we need to rehearse and make preparations, identify groups of people, and look at what best we can do in the given situation.
Okay.
I think that the affected community talking about their needs is a very important thing. Always we have spoke for, advocated for them, but there is nothing like they advocating for themselves by developing
collectives.
Collectives
Yes.
and reflect on their problems and take it forward.
100%. Since Dr. Kishore, you're here and Abhilash hasn't typed his question as far I can see. He has asked, but Abhilash, just before getting to you, Sai Lakshmi, you can ask the question in Telugu. I think Dr. Kishore can understand, and then we can translate it after that. Archana, do you want to ask Sai Lakshmi to speak, please? Hello?
Hello?
Okay.
Me question emundamma?
I'm just going to give it about 5 seconds in case she's just getting through to the mic. Oh, please unmute us. Okay. Anjali, how do I do that?
Just go to the attendees side and you unmute them.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Archana, you can speak now. Yeah. I've unmuted you.
నమస్తే డాక్టర్ గారు.
నమస్తే అమ్మా, చెప్పండి.
నేను ఒక బేబీని చూసుకుంటున్నాను కదా, అలాగే బ్యానర్లు ఉన్న వాళ్ళకి ఏదన్నా జాబులు ఇప్పిస్తారా, లేదంటే గవర్నమెంట్ ఏదన్నా జాబ్ ఇప్పిస్తుందా అని అడుగుతున్నాను సార్.
అవునమ్మా, వెరీ గుడ్. మేము మీరు అడిగిన ఈ ప్రశ్న చాలా ఇంపార్టెంట్ ప్రశ్న. మేము ఇంకేముంది
అంటే నా ఉద్దేశంలో నేను ఎక్కడి నుంచో ఆంధ్ర నుంచి వచ్చినాను సార్. నన్ను బ్యానర్లు ఎంతగానో ఆదుకుంది. దాని గురించి నేను ఎంతో కృతజ్ఞత చెప్తున్నాను బ్యానర్లకి, వందన మేడం గారికి, స్టాఫ్ అందరికి. నాలాగే అందరూ చెట్లు అవ్వాలి సార్.
అవునమ్మా, అవును. మా ఉద్దేశము అదేనే, అందరూ మీలాగే సెటిల్ అవ్వాలా, మీలాగనే సంతోషంగా ఉండాలా, దుడ్డులు సంపాదించాలా, మరి వాళ్ళ జీవితం నడుచుకుపించుకొని పోవాలా అనేసి మాకి ఇది ఇంట్రెస్ట్ ఉంది. Yeah.
So what did she say, Dr. Kishore?
She says that I am very grateful to the Banyan that I got an opportunity to work and take care of a child.
Okay.
I am very happy with my employer and thankful to my employer.
Okay.
I want every member who is there in the Banyan to be like me. The
Okay.
answer for us is our intention is also the same.
Right.
The economic response, whether it is a public sector or a private sector,
Yeah.
the point is the well-being of the person, productivity in the person, contribution from the person. That is the end point that everybody is looking at.
Yeah.
But for that to happen, it may not be possible for everybody, but it has to be from case to case. So there are many factors that contributes to it. But all the same, we have to make an attempt to do that. But our intention is so, but the community also will have to come forward to accept people.
Okay.
Also will have to create opportunities for those people.
Okay.
This, very important aspect is early identification and treatment will lead to better recovery, to better participation in work, better participation in work leading to better quality of life, and stigma and discrimination will disappear.
Yeah.
So as long as stigma, discrimination continues, persists in the community, participation will remain minimal.
Absolutely.
If a person who is mentally ill and homeless gets an opportunity to live normal life, it is a reflection of multiple things. One of them is early identification, second is acceptance, third is better recovery, fourth is getting right kind of opportunities, fifth one is motivation on the part of the individual to contribute effectively in the society to attain that place.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Kishore. Abhilash, now you can talk. You can ask your question. Who do you want to direct it to? And you can ask the question directly. I've unmuted you.
Oh, okay. So I don't know whom I want to direct this question.
Briefly introduce yourself, please.
Yeah. So I'm Abhilash Durkar. Currently, I'm working in Odisha.
Yeah.
People with mental illness. I'm working in rehabilitation center. I'm also working in community mental health in remote area of the Odisha. My question, I actually have two questions. From my experience, so while we are talking about the housing rights of the people, housing rights of the homelessness or people with mental illness, so there are people we have experienced in specifically in Odisha that they don't want to get institutionalized, and also Mental Health Care Act also state that if they don't want to get treated, they have the right to not get treated. So when we are talking about the housing right, and if we bring this thing that everyone will get in institution, Then due to, so I have a fear that due to the inefficient bureaucratic system, everyone on the street will get institutionalized uh, against their will first, and when they are living on the street, they have their livelihood. They have their livelihood on the street, and if we are taking them in the institution, we are taking away their livelihood also. So it will be, and though we will provide food, medical care, but it will not be their right. It will be more of a charity. So how do we go about this thing? First question. And my second question is, so post corona, what is going to happen, and what is happening right now is, so the residents who are in mental health institution who are cured, so we are facing difficulties in their reunion with the families and guardian, because family and the society is not willing to accept them now. So how do we go about this post corona? Yeah, thank you.
Amita, since you raised your hand, would you like to answer?
I was slightly distracted.
We can't hear you.
Oh, okay. Can Indu or Dr. Kishore take this? I don't think I got the full question.
Yeah, I think Mrinalini.
Yes, Induji.
Yeah, I think I heard
Abhilash, yeah.
I think one is, of course, we are opposed to institutionalization of people. We are not supporting any institutionalization as such. So if we're talking about people in the shelters, these are open shelters, 24/7 shelters, and they can move out for livelihoods and all that. So there's no question of that. We are not, and we are opposed to any law which puts people into any institution called beggars' homes or anything like that.
Yes, we are.
That we are. Two is, I think, to his question, which he spoke about, that there are people who are cured and who want to go to families. I've also got a question from a friend, Dr. Augustine Veliet, who was earlier in UNICEF, and he's asking me about the Chennai model. And I think who better than me? It's actually Mrinalini, who better than you can answer this question? So
our director, Dr. Kishore, is the best person to answer the question.
Yeah. So Dr. Kishore, please talk about the home again model, what it is, how it is, and how it works, because there are two people, Abhilash and Dr. Augustine Veliet, keen to know about the home again model, how it works. Yes. Please talk on that. It's important to share. Thank you.
There are 3 points that I want to bring it to the consideration of the audience. One is that in the journey of recovery for persons with mental illness, institutionalizing them, keeping them in a particular place, we don't need to call it an institution. We need to refer to a healthy environment for recovery, which I call it as an institution, and therefore that kind of close supervision is necessary for a period of time. Once the person recovers, he can go back to the community, and of course the end point of the intervention is his productivity, so that the community accepts him, he enjoys good quality of life, and therefore he moves forward. The second aspect is that in a shelter context, all shelters are open shelters, none of them are closed shelters, which means none of them are like closed institutions. And there are lots of challenges in managing people in such institutions, and so far we have been able to do well. A large number of people can recover and go back into their communities, but we also find that many people are not able to go back.
Yeah.
In this situation, we have thought of an alternative long-term model, which is called as the home again. So home again is a home in the community where a person lives with dignity. He has full rights to participate in all the processes in the community. He works and earns his living. And this is surely a process of destigmatization of mental illness. We have so far experienced close to 200 people in such a context, and we have found that large number of people enjoy a very different quality of life. They experience an enormous degree of social participation and acceptance. They are also productive and earn their own living, and many of them are able to buy all the necessities that they want from their own earning. In other words, they are empowered to become independent. We also have a large number of people in what is called as independent living. So, the home again is a unique model of empowering people to live in the community for those who cannot go back home. Now,
So we offer supported housing and supported living options for people with long-term mental health needs.
A large number of people today, close to 5,000 people are stuck in mental hospitals, and they all potentially could go home. And we have looked at the profile of these people and recommended to the government that they could, in fact, move out into the community.
Yeah.
And the report was released in January of 2020. But the COVID crisis has completely taken the power out of the sails, and very soon it may happen, maybe 1 or 2 years later it may happen. So home again is a realistic alternative to an institution, because institution does not guarantee full participation. Institution does not guarantee good quality of life. Neither it guarantees social acceptance. Whereas home again is a foolproof method of doing all of these things in the community, and the cost of care, importantly, is about 1/3 of what it would cost in an institution. Therefore, home again makes an economic sense by implementing this model. In the coming future, we will see that a large number of such models will be explored, and we would see hundreds of people living in the community in the home again context as it stands now.
Thank you, Dr. Kishore.
Implement.
Yes, Induji, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just want to add here that when Dr. Kishore was talking about home again, he kept saying he, actually is she. So much of the he is actually she. There are a large number of mentally, I think women with mental issues who are in home again as such. It's a model for mainly women, but also men can be there,
In Kerala, we have many men also in the GIS. So Dr. Kishore is talking about the overall picture. So since we are running out of time, I am just going to ask one last question, and that Manjula from the Telangana shelter has asked, which Shehnaz, aap bata sakte hai to acha hoga. So she's saying that we are struggling for food and work. Where is the strength to fight for rights? आप इसके बारे में कुछ बोलना चाहते हैं?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, please.
इसके लिए मैं ये बोलना चाहूंगी कि अभी जैसे कोविड-19 के दौरान बहुत ज्यादा लोग हैं जो मतलब वो सरवाइव कर रहे हैं, बहुत ज्यादा स्ट्रगल कर रहे हैं। जैसे बहुत सारे लोग हैं जो अपने घर नहीं जा पाते हैं, सैटेलाइट शेल्टर्स में रह रहे हैं, उन्हें फूड प्रोवाइड हो रहा है गवर्नमेंट के थ्रू, बट जो बेसिक नीड्स है टॉयलेटरी जो थिंग्स है, उनके साबुन वगैरह हो गया या फिर उनका खर्चा हो गया, जैसे गवर्नमेंट बता रही है कि उनके बैंक में पैसे ट्रांसफर किए जा रहे हैं। हमने काफी लोगों के बैंक में 5-5 हजार रुपए दिए हैं उन्हें खर्च के लिए, या राशन दिया है हमें। लेकिन यहाँ पे ये है कि अगर 1 मिनट,
या प्लीज, सुनाई नहीं दे रहा इतना अच्छा।
हाँ, थैंक यू। हेलो,
यस
यस। सो मैम यहाँ पे ये गवर्नमेंट्स बहुत सारे मतलब मीडिया में और न्यूज़पेपर्स में काफी हम पढ़ते हैं कि गवर्नमेंट कहती है कि हम सबको जो है जितने भी पुअर बेगर लोग हैं उनके अकाउंट में पैसे डलवा रहे हैं, उनके जरूरतों को पूरा कर रहे हैं और राशन दे रहे हैं। तो यहाँ पे ये कहना चाहूंगी कि नाइट शेल्टर में जितने भी लोग हैं, मोस्टली लोग जहाँ पर मैं रहती हूँ वहां पर ऐसा कुछ भी चीज नहीं मिल पाया गवर्नमेंट के थ्रू। जो लाइक जो गवर्नमेंट कह रही है कि पैसे वगैरह देना और राशन, क्योंकि राशन कार्ड मोस्टली लोगों के पास नहीं है, वो आधार कार्ड के थ्रू गवर्नमेंट ने कहा था, जैसे केजरीवाल जी कह रहे थे आधार कार्ड भी दिखा करके आप राशन ले सकते हैं। राशन जो है आधार कार्ड दिखा करके हम लेने गए थे, उन्होंने मना कर दिया। उन्होंने कहा कि सिर्फ राशन वालों को मिलेगा और ये बहुत कम आया हुआ है, गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से ज्यादा नहीं आया हुआ है जिनको आधार कार्ड के थ्रू भी हम दे पाए। तो हमने कहा ठीक है। और दूसरा ये था कि मैम लोग वहां पर जो है अभी सोशल डिस्टेंस मेंटेन का जो है एक मुद्दा, कि अभी कहीं भी हम जाते हैं तो वहां पे बोलते हैं कि सोशल डिस्टेंस मेंटेन करो, आप 2 गज दूर रहो या फिर डिस्टेंस मेंटेन करो। तो नाइट शेल्टर्स वगैरह में अवेयरनेस जो होनी चाहिए या हेल्थ से रिलेटेड जो चेकअप होने चाहिए वो नहीं हो पाए, जिसकी वजह से बहुत ज्यादा प्रॉब्लम। अब हमें कंफर्म नहीं है कि किसी को वहां पे कोविड-19 कोरोना है या नहीं है। क्योंकि अगर चेकअप हो जाता तो कंफर्म हो सकता था उससे कि हाँ इनको है। 1-2 बार वो टेम्परेचर चेक करके बस चले गए थे। बाकी सैनिटाइज वगैरह हाँ हो रहा है, वहाँ पर रेगुलरली सैनिटाइज होता है, पानी मिलता है हमें 24 आवर्स, खाना भी मिलता है गवर्नमेंट के थ्रू से जो है। और जो बच्चे मतलब चीज वगैरह खाने के लिए मम्मी से या पापा से पैसे मांगते हैं या कुछ, तो उनके पेरेंट्स के पास भी पैसा ना होने की वजह से, क्योंकि एक सिर्फ खाना ही देना इनफ नहीं है।
हाँ, तो वही बोल रहे हैं। तो मंजुला क्या पूछ रहे हैं कि इतना प्रॉब्लम्स है हमारे पास और दिन में कब खाना मिलेगा, कब काम मिलेगा, हमें कुछ नहीं पता। तो इसके बीच में हम खुद के राइट्स के लिए कैसे लड़ा सकते हैं?
तो मैम इसके लिए हम जैसे अमिता मैम ने बताया था कि इसके राइट्स के लिए हमें खुद ही बाहर आना पड़ेगा। कि अगर अपने राइट्स चाहिए या हमें वो सारी नीड्स जो बेसिक नीड्स मिलने चाहिए जो नहीं मिल पा रही गवर्नमेंट के थ्रू, तो हमें एक लाइक मूवमेंट टाइप हमें करना चाहिए बाहर निकल के। बट ये टाइम तो नहीं होगा ऐसा, क्योंकि अभी बहुत ही पेंडेमिक टाइम है और दिल्ली में केसेस वगैरह भी बहुत ज्यादा ही आ रहे हैं। तो आफ्टर दैट हमें एक मूवमेंट करना चाहिए सबको मिला करके, जितने भी होमलेस है, ताकि वो उनको सरकार तक बात पहुंचाई जा सके कि हाँ ये जो नीड है और बेसिक नीड्स तो मिलनी चाहिए, या फिर गवर्नमेंट जो प्रोमिसेस करते हैं जो नहीं पहुंच पाता है हमारे तक, वो चीज मिलनी चाहिए हमें।
Okay.
Can I come in here?
Yes, I was just going to ask you to make the concluding remarks, Amita. Yeah.
Manjula, when do people come, to struggle for their rights? I think when they push to the very edge. And I think COVID has been that, has given the final nudge. 20 years into the struggle, 20 साल हो गए कि हम ये लड़ाई में शुरू करके, और अभी तक हमने कुछ इंडिफरेंट शेल्टर्स पहुंचा, कुछ स्टेट्स में, चलो दिल्ली में लड़ करके 20 साल के बाद 90 और परमानेंट शेल्टर है, बाकी टेम्पररी है। कुछ जगह पे स्ट्रगल के वजह से कुछ शेल्टर खड़े हैं, लेकिन कब हुआ जब तक अफ्रीकन को एक लिमिट तक पहुंच गए और उसके ऊपर कोई और नहीं सह सकता है, तब लोग बाहर आते हैं। आई थिंक ये पॉइंट पहुंच गए हमारे ये। तो ये कोविड का इमीडिएट सिचुएशन खत्म होने के बाद हमको सोचना चाहिए कि हमारी ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल स्किल्स को सामने आना चाहिए, हम एक दूसरे को नेटवर्क करना पड़ेगा, दूसरा मूवमेंट स्ट्रगल के साथ जुड़ना है। में हमारी सारा विमेन्स कलेक्टिव नेशनल फेडरेशन ऑफ इंडियन विमेन के साथ जुड़ा है, जो एक 64-year-old एडवोकेसी बेस्ड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, स्टार्टेड बाय अरुणा आसिफ अली। एंड कोई भी विमेन का प्रॉब्लम है तो वो सड़क पे उतरते हैं। मालूम है कि हमारे पीछे उसका ताकत है। और बाकी सेवा जैसा संस्थाएं ये या आंध्र प्रदेश में पता नहीं और विमेन्स नेटवर्क्स और ग्रुप्स हो गए, ये लड़ाई हमारी अकेले नहीं हो सकता है। दूसरे स्ट्रगल्स मूवमेंट्स के साथ NAPMs, PUCLs, PUDR बाकी ह्यूमन राइट्स डिफेंडर्स के साथ जुड़ना चाहिए। और वहां से होमलेस के लिए एक स्पेस निकालना है कि वो उनका अपना राइट्स के लिए लड़ो, क्योंकि ये एक टर्निंग पॉइंट, दिस शुड बी अ टर्निंग पॉइंट फॉर अस, क्योंकि जितना डिवास्टेशन हमने देखा, कितने लोग लॉस्ट देयर लाइव्स पैदल, अभी हम 20 सोल्जर्स के लिए हम सब रो रहे हैं, लेकिन 130 के ऊपर लोग, वो सही है, हमें मौन करना चाहिए, ये हमारे सोल्जर्स हैं। साथ साथ जो 130 के ऊपर लोग जो गांव चलते चलते हुए मर गए सड़क पे, कुछ यंग बच्चे लोग 20 साल 25 साल के ना उम्र का लोग चल करके, आपने सुना है 12 साल का एक लड़की, वो तेलंगाना आकर के वापस उड़ीसा जा रहे थे, नहीं मध्य प्रदेश, और वो बीच में उसका डेथ हो गए। तो इस सब के लिए हम कब मौन करें, कब कौन सा ट्रिगर होगा हमारे लिए? तो हमें अभी से ही सोचना पड़ेगा, हमें नेटवर्क करना है, इसके लिए हमें अपना समय निकालना है, क्योंकि उसके बिना कौन को कितना दिन तक लड़ेंगे आपस में। एनजीओ लोग शाम को जाकर के अपने घर में वापस चले जाएंगे, अपने घर है, सब कुछ है, लोगों का स्ट्रगल अपनी तरफ से नहीं लड़ेंगे, और जब तक फायर इन द बेली ना हो, लोग अपने ओन लड़ाई नहीं लड़ेंगे, कोई लास्टिंग चेंज होने वाला नहीं है मेरे विचार से। तो एडवोकेसी इज सो इम्पोर्टेंट, और approaching all our accessing all of our rights and ensuring that we bring pressure on institutions to deliver, including bureaucracies, ministers, politicians, parties, all of them. For that we have to show our voting rights, come together at election time, ask them to put it into the election manifestos. हमारी डिमांड आना चाहिए। तो ये सब हमें करना है, मुश्किल है, लेकिन पहले कदम उठाना है, और आप जैसा लोग ये फैसिलिटेट कर सकता है।
Thank you so much, and I'd like to thank all the panelists, Shehnaz, Dr. Kishore, Indu ji, Amita ji, for joining us. And what was even more special is that we were able to do much of it in Hindi. So I think we'll have more such conversations online and offline. And if I can just appeal true Banyan style to Indu ji and Amita and Dr. Kishore about getting this NULM special shelters going. I think if we can urgently look into that, and we can probably also discuss offline, I think that would be very urgent, because this is a bomb that hasn't exploded yet, but we are going to have huge distress among homeless people with mental health issues. So if that is like a positive concluding remark saying that we can take a tangible step towards this, I think that would be very, very good.
Sure.
Thank you very much, everybody. Yeah. Thanks, Anjali. Thank you. Yeah.
Zindabad.
Zindabad. Bye.